Hi, everybody. How's it going?
Hey.
Hi, family in the chat. Who's all in here? I only see a few names popping up right now.
Me.
Hey, Jasmine.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
So
I'm so excited for today's session. It's going to be, if anybody who hasn't seen already, we're in the middle of our Women Empowerment Week, which spawned out of the fact that Monday was International Women's Day, and March is International Women's Month. And so we thought there's nothing better we can really do than to highlight women in music, producers, female producers on the platform, and just showcase and talk about some of the, I guess, kind of more taboo topics about what it means to be a woman in music. So before we get started, does everybody want to introduce themselves and just kind of talk about who you are, a little bit about your background and where you came from? A lot of you guys know there's some familiar faces on here, Tia, myself, Aaron, but you guys haven't heard from Carly too much and Allison from too much. So before we get started, I guess would love to hear everybody's little short story about how you became a woman in music. Tia?
So I'm Tia. I'm the playlist manager here at BeatStars. There's a lot of family in the chat that know I also host the deal and on the list once a month. Sorry for the noise in the background. I don't know who's street racing right now, but that's what's going on. My background it pretty much started from music journalism, to be honest. I was doing radio and print journalism for Hip Hop Canada here. But over the years, have also worked in grants, so funding in music in Canada, and one-off music teams, just helping them strategize and get their branding together. And now I'm here with you guys.
Yes, amazing. What about you, Aaron?
So I actually come from like a family who works in music. My dad's worked in the industry for quite a few years. My sister works in it too. So when I went to school, I actually was really trying to avoid getting into this. But it just still found its way back to me. I studied design and all of that stuff in college, then realized that I loved like the branding aspect of all of it. So I got more into marketing and basically started freelancing and ended up doing some freelancing for artists and producers, helping them build their social media and all of that stuff. And that's when I met Abe, who decided to bring me on and do social media at BeatStars. And then now here we are. So now the brand strategist here at BeatStars, which is like creative and business campaigns and stuff. Yeah.
Carly, what about you?
Hi, I'm Carly. I started last year in the beginning of May as a digital marketing intern, and then I was off for maybe a week, and then I called right back and started up with the BeatStars campus marketing program for campus ambassadors at colleges. And now I'm just transitioning into partnerships and influencer marketing for BeatStars, so I'll start that full time. I'm currently still in college. I'm in the band year program at Syracuse University, which is for music business. Highly recommend. And that's definitely how I got the professional side of the industry. How I started loving music is I play guitar, as you can see. So this side, as you can see. So I've always loved music since I was little, and I just wanted to be, I guess, on the professional end of it. And BeatStars is obviously the perfect place to work for independent artists. So
yeah, it's Carly has been a great addition to the team. As you see, there's 5 of us here, with Allison included, and that's not even half of the women that work at BeatStars. I think there's even more women on the marketing team. So I know that probably for you, Carly, you didn't imagine joining such a large team that had so many women on it. But BeatStars is a really unique place to work for sure. What about you, Allison?
Yeah, so hey guys, I'm Allison, and I'm the inbound marketing manager at BeatStars.
Just some kind of background. I have always really been into music. I played violin all throughout middle school and high school and attended a lot of live shows and concerts. So by the time I got to college, I knew without a doubt that I wanted to be involved with college radio. And that's kind of how I dipped my toes into that world professionally. So I was in the music department there, and I wrote a lot of music reviews and just blogs about music news in general. And I also was a radio DJ. So I would, play different tracks and songs and kind of talk to our audience through that. And through college radio, I ended up networking with some people at South by Southwest, and that's how I obtained an internship there. And I kind of dipped my toes at South by through in the marketing department, and that's kind of where I got my professional start. And then I ended up leaving South by Southwest last March because of COVID and the cancellation of the event, but it led me to BeatStars. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here and with the company and with all of you incredible ladies.
Yes, we are very glad to have you. I guess for me, obviously, you guys have probably met me and most likely heard my story. But in summary, I just got started in marketing. And my boyfriend is a producer. And because of that, I was introduced to BeatStars and really wanted to be able to help more people find a way to get paid from their art in the way that he has in order to, now doing this full time. And so joined the team last year. And now here we are, a full team of Department of Marketing. A ton of incredible women have joined our team in the past year. So I think this year, and maybe even more so compared to previous years, it was really important for us to be able to highlight International Women's Day, and really put a shine on female producers and artists in the industry. So do one of you kind of want to talk about kind of the basis, maybe you, Erin, behind the campaign and kind of what our really main goal was with creating all this content this week? I think Erin might be frozen. Allison, do you mind just kind of sharing a little bit more about our Women Empowerment Week?
Back?
Okay, I think she might be frozen.
Okay. I thought she was coming back to us. Yeah. So, the entire mission and goal behind this campaign is really to highlight all of our female producers and artists on the platform and, acknowledge just, the different statistics that come into play that are involved around women in music, and just kind of, highlighting those artists and those performers this week and really elevating them. And yeah, that's kind of just the goal of this entire campaign, is to highlight those stories and how far, women have come in music just in general.
Yeah, and definitely how far we still all have to go, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you guys, I don't know if you guys checked out our social, but we just posted a post that was about kind of some basic stats about women and including them in the industry and what those look like. And I think a lot of people, from what I saw in the comments, were pretty surprised at some of the gaps between the amount of women producers there are, or the popularity of women music made by women. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check that out. But Tia, for you, why is it important for you that we have this discussion about female representation in the music industry?
I think it's important because the music industry is really powered, even if you look at BeatStars, but the music industry in general is really powered by women, if you think about it. And this isn't even to be flexy or anything. It's just that the basis of it, working in the music industry, specifically on the business side, takes a lot of emotional intelligence. And I just think that that's something that is hard to come by. But I think that, the ladies have it on lock a little bit better. And also because it's a shared experience. So when I'm talking about music, so there really just should be space for everybody, regardless of who they are. Mm-hmm. And I think that's my answer to sum it up.
5 stars for that. No, it's true though. Like, man, like even from the back end of the music industry side, the business people, the marketing people like us, and what I'm sure we see female identifying producers go through, and just breaking that mold and entering into a traditionally male dominating space, there's some shared experiences there. And again, not that we don't want to ever alienate or separate different parts of the community, but there is nothing wrong with giving a little shine and some extra love to maybe those who don't always receive it. So Carly, for you, especially being somebody who is younger and, you know, is entering in the music industry, like, what does this mean for you? Where are you seeing the industry change? What kind of changes have you wanted to make being a woman in the industry for other female producers, artists, creators, and other women?
Yeah, I think this is a really big deal for me. It's just like, first of all, the kind of business you want to work for, you want to know that they like appreciate you and understand kind of the social expectations around a day like this, and really like put their heart into it. And I have seen our staff do that for pretty much every occasion. But as a student and someone who's kind of new in the industry, I say this all the time, I feel like, but having female role models is really, really important for me. I think seeing yourself in your workplace is so impactful, and it can like really change your confidence. Something that everyone always says in the business, in my classes and in panels and everything we do, is like, this is a cutthroat industry. Like, you're going to need to put in your dues, and you're going to need to work no payment internships, which luckily I didn't do here, but you're going to need to experience a lot of really hard things. And that is a lot more difficult when you don't see yourself in the people you're looking up to, and you don't feel like you can voice your concerns to them because they don't understand you and you don't understand them. And the way that translates to production specifically is, you know, seeing yourself represented. A lot of people will comment on like women's statistics and say, well, just because there's not a lot of women doesn't mean that that's discrimination or that that's a problem. Maybe women just don't want to be producers. But the thing is, if you don't see yourself represented in a community from childhood, from the very beginning, you don't see yourself represented, you're not going to, why would you want to break into that industry? And I think what we're trying to do at BeatStars is just uplift female producers so up and comers can feel represented.
Yeah, 100%.
So, it means a lot.
100%. Yeah, I love that. Aaron, like, it looks like your face is here. And I wanted to ask for you, obviously, kind of being our brand strategist and helping us come up with innovative ways to be able to continue to break the mold. Why was this really important for you?
Yeah, so like we said, like, well, what it was funny, Mike Trampy actually said the other day how, you know, the music team just brought on another one of our former interns to work with us, and you know, she is female identifying, and so he was saying, he's like, I can't believe how many women are here now, and he's like, I think you started all of that. So it's been a real shift since you know, I don't mean to say like that I was the one that came on and then that, but you know, since in the most recent years, you know, and we've been able to really kind of make our focus be making sure that there are so many women and, you know, diversity within our team, making sure that, like Bartley said, everyone's accounted for. The one thing that really stood out to us is you guys should check out this study that Spotify and USC Edinburgh did that just talks about the representation of women in music. And they listed that, you know, only 2% of women in music are producers. And so we really, just being a team full of women, I just think it's the coolest and most unique situation to be behind BeatStars, which is just such a male dominated portion of the industry. So, you know, as much as we can bring to give that shine, the better.
Yeah. And I think to kind of play too on what you said, Carly, about having you wanting to see these things, like it can be, whether you guys realize it or not, kind of discouraging when there's not other people that look like you in the room or even anywhere nearby. And I don't know, it's like sometimes, you know, obviously those types of things don't change overnight. I don't think that we're going to launch, you know, this Women Empowerment Week and all of a sudden, you know, there's going to be, you know, 30% of the industry is female producers, but it's about opening that door and encouraging and empowering people. It can be intimidating. Like, I'm somebody who has a really, really strong personality, and there will be times where I'll be in conversations and it's just a group of men and I get real quiet. and sometimes you don't even realize how much having that representation can really allow you to thrive in the way that you know how. And so I feel like it's really important, not only for us to be able to support and say, hey, we see you and we want you to keep doing more and we want you to keep making music and keep breaking barriers. But also just to be able to, you know, empower and shine light on those who are paving the way. And the goal is that hopefully, you know, as I've said before, International Women's Day should be every day. We should always be empowering women. This is not a BeatStars wants to take a holiday and make it into something that they can talk about themselves, or, you know, that they can make themselves seem forward thinking. Like, this is what we need to be doing, and all of us need to be doing, you guys watching included, is including and empowering and supporting women in music. Even when thinking about, like, I don't know, I want to collab, reach out to a couple of the people, collab. Like, how many times are you thinking of female producers, right? Because there are some in our community. You guys will see over the coming days highlighting those stories, and we're going to be doing IG lives with them and things like that. But they do exist, and it's just so natural at the top of your mind that you're probably not thinking about women in the music space, and just trying to be more deliberate about knowing that there is such a gap, and doing your part, or trying to do the things that you can to be able to, you know, hopefully encourage female producers and give them the opportunities as well that come with such support and collaboration. So I'm curious for you guys, what are some of the common misconceptions that people have had about you guys, or that you feel like people have about women in music, and how have you guys responded to those? I'll start with something. Okay, might be a little bit touchy. But there is a common misconception, especially with strong women, that there's an issue. And I've seen, because of that, so many strong women turn down their personality, turn down the fact that they have something that they believe in and they want to speak out about, because maybe in the past, women have been a little bit more calm or timid, or known their place, or what people should think is their place, that anything outside of that can be so different that it can be misinterpreted. And so for me, what I've tried to do is just be myself. Obviously, you have to find that fine line and know, you know, who you're talking to, know your audience. But I guess the whole point in me saying this is I would encourage any woman to continue breaking barriers. Don't ever feel like you have to scale who you are back and what you can accomplish back in order to compensate for maybe what some people feel or think about you. It's been something that I'm still learning how to do, and hopefully for all of you out there, all of you female identifying producers, keep going, because even if there are things that you have to deal with because of that, you're going to be laying the foundation and being a great example for other women in the future. And so try and keep that in mind. But I'm curious for you guys, like, what have you guys struggled with or experienced, or a misconception somebody's had about you working in music or working in general, that you've been able to kind of address and hopefully learn from as you kind of continue to pave the way?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off of what you said, Jasmine. I think that, you know, as a female professional, it's, you know, easy to kind of fall into molds of what people expect from you, especially when it comes to, you know, just being more submissive with your approach, you know, holding back on your personality. It can be challenging, especially when you're in a room full of men. And that's not like this at all at BeatStars. It's definitely been an issue in past workplaces that I've been in. But yeah, just trying to kind of prove yourself as a woman in the industry, especially in the music industry and the events industry, which is very male dominated. That's always been a challenge. And, just trying to assert your dominance and work twice as hard to try and prove yourself to everybody around you. I think that's, definitely something that will probably always continuously be a struggle. But I think that especially with events and campaigns and in days or months like International Women's Month, that can kind of help bring to light those issues, and we can work to solve those workplace problems and just problems in general, socially, politically, things like that.
Yeah, like Allison said, I feel like we're all at a really unique position. Obviously, you see a lot of women in leadership at BeatStars. You see a lot of our teams are heavily dominated by women. We fortunately are a part of a community, both in the internal side of BeatStars, but in our actual community of creators that really does want to truly support and empower everybody. But what I would recommend to men maybe who are watching, sometimes it is nice and to just say hey, what are your thoughts, and giving somebody the floor and allowing them to have that space and knowing that they're supported by you. And it's not so much a matter of you need to cater to somebody's emotions and you got to really build them up. But again, we're not talking about, just 1 year of disparity. We're talking about a lifetime of what it means to be a woman, continually evolving, and what our place means in society and in the workplace, and with our friends and our family. And just something as simple as that, like I mentioned, reaching out to a female producer and do you want to collab? Or when you guys are talking about something, giving her the space to say I don't know, what do you think about this drum pattern? It's sometimes it's just those little things that you can do that can really empower somebody to feel okay, I have a voice. And even though I'm sure they already knew they had a voice, but my voice is going to be heard and respected.
I think just off of what you're saying, some of the issues that I may have experienced, well, not may have, I definitely did experience, is that there's an assumption that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So I also think it's important to remember, reaching out and lifting women up and giving them the opportunity to grow is one conversation, but also being at a point in your life where it's this person is literally meeting me where I'm at. We're in the same room, we're sharing the same space. So why don't I accept the fact that they also have an opinion that is level to mine or might even be better than mine? So I think just paying attention to that and not just assuming that, I guess it's twofold in this part. Don't assume that this woman that you're interacting with is there for the wrong reason or whatever. They've worked hard to be at the same place or take part in these conversations. So just remember that. But I mean, you should offer that grace to literally anybody you come across at the same time. So that's my sense there.
Yeah, I guess that's at the core of all of this, is really just being a really encouraging and supportive person, but also empathizing and understanding where people are coming from, maybe where some of their hesitations are, while also still acknowledging, like Tia said, that they're in the room for a reason. Like I said, it's not about babying somebody or, oh, I didn't want to work with this person, but because they're a woman and now I really got to reach out. It should come from a genuine place of, I really want to collaborate more with you. I want to encourage you, empower you. And it's always, or it should be, reciprocated. So it shouldn't just be this one-sided thing where we expect you to pour into all these women and that be it. It's like, it's the same support you want, right? You want somebody to know that your voice is heard. You want somebody to keep you in mind when they have opportunities, and you want them to respect you, like Tia said, and acknowledge the hard work that you've put in to get there. And so just really being, it's not so much maybe changing your behavior as more as it is being cognizant of the fact that there are people who don't always have that opportunity on a regular basis. And maybe you can be the person to provide that for them. What about you, Erin? Like, what have you, obviously you your family comes from a music industry background. And so what are some of those things maybe you were taught to prepare for as a woman entering the music space?
Yeah, I think I've had a lot of really strong female, like I know that my family has worked with a lot of women in music. So like, for example, my dad worked with Sylvia Rhone for the past 8 years. And so being head of Epic and being a, huge influence on the industry is so amazing. And seeing how she does that with such grace, and just hearing about how well she's, made her staff just feel uplifted all the time and heard and all of that. It's just incredible. My dad always said like the politics were always good there. Like it was just well balanced. So it's great to hear that. I think from personal experience, like Tia, same thing, like just feeling like I would go into a studio session and have been in the same studio with a few people for like a few days. And then it wouldn't be until somebody found out like, oh, that, I have family who works in an industry, or I worked at BeatStars, that they would even want to speak to me. Before that, they'd just be like, I was just a fly on the wall until that point. So it's just like, give everybody, like Tia said, everybody in the room the same amount of respect always. It's just a rule. But at the same time, like, don't assume that somebody's there just for nothing, find out, what people around you are doing and be interested. And I know our social media manager, Allie, found us a really great clip we're going to be sharing on social that was like, a female producer saying like, why don't you send me a work in progress? Why do I have to send one to you all the time? So reaching out to people saying, hey, I just made this beat. What do you think? I'd love to get your feedback on it. Understanding, someone else's perspective and how it could be improved in some way. And whether you take that advice or not is up to you, but just to kind of deepen your understanding of what other people might think is always helpful.
I think one thing that you noted that is important to remember is that we all are different, and, not obviously that we're not all equal, but again, we have different strengths. And there is some things that maybe other people just in general can contribute to your life, your worldview, the work that you do, if you just gave them the opportunity, you know what I mean? And I don't know, like, it's fun for me. Like, I don't have any real traditional technical experience or background in music or music production. But the music that my boyfriend creates, like what maybe like some of my dad's favorite songs when I don't know, they'll laugh, but sometimes we listen to his beats with my family. The tracks my dad listens to and the things he likes about them may be different than what really speaks to me and my emotions, right? And so even if it's just not about necessarily like feeling like somebody's going to tell you what to do, but just knowing that their perspective and their worldview and the fact that they are so different can really enhance everything that you guys do. Tia, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, even to Erin talking about, being in the studio and no one like paying her any mind. It's like, do you understand that women are also informing the music trends that circulate?
Yeah.
The opinion of a woman, especially those that work in a music space, getting their opinion is so invaluable. And I think you need to look at it from that perspective too. Like, women are assets to pretty much everything that happens in the music industry. So you have to be cognizant of that for sure. Like, ask for opinions, pay somebody to consult, like put points in their pocket to answer your questions too. I think that would be super important.
Yeah. What are some of, I guess for you guys, like, how do you cope or stay inspired being a woman in a really male dominated industry? What kind of keeps you guys motivated? For me, it's just knowing that I'm breaking barriers and hopefully laying the foundation and being proof of concept, right? There can be a woman who is in tune with her emotions and the emotional needs of the people around her, who can also still be really strong too. And really dedicated and things like that. Or I guess like for me also being a mom, like there are women out there who can balance having a young child and being in the music industry. And it's really just, I guess my biggest motivation is knowing that there are so many people out there like me, and I'm hoping that I can do them justice and representing them in these spaces, especially for me. And I know, Tia, you can relate, like also being a Black woman in these spaces. Like there's two types of demographics that we're trying to represent and trying to kind of break the mold for. And just really appreciating that is really important to me, and understanding the position that I'm in. Like I said, it doesn't mean that sometimes it can't be a little more intimidating, or I wouldn't like to see more women, but just keeping in mind that hopefully through my actions and through other people like me who are taking that next step, by the time my daughter is older, this will be the norm. You know, maybe it won't be such a focus where we have to be able to highlight the fact that there are only 2% of producers are women and things like that. So I guess for me, it's just wanting to make a difference with the opportunity that I have, and hopefully paving the way for, you know, other women or other creators that look like me.
Carly, what inspires you in just starting out?
I would say there's two main things that I focus on in terms of, I don't know, I guess like better preparing myself for being a woman in the music industry. And I think the first thing, and something that everyone could do, is just like general societal education, like understanding the why behind all of this, because it's very easy when you're living a female experience to recognize the ways that it's harder for you, but it's very difficult to explain that to someone else and explain like the historical ways that that's developed and the reasons behind that. And so I think like something we've all been doing this week is like researching and really understanding, you know, what factors came into the gap in production, in gender, and a lot of that stuff, and focusing my classes around that as well. But just on a more personal level, I think unlearning maybe some of the more like problematic gender differences of certain professional settings is important. We were talking a little bit this week about kind of the way, like the verbiage you use and the way that you talk as a woman in professional life is sometimes a little bit different, with like extra exclamation points, or oh, I was just thinking, or oh, I was wondering if, and you kind of have to like water down what you're really saying because you don't want to come across as rude. And not to say that there are non-female people who do this. Everyone might do this to some extent, but I think that it's from what I've spoken to, pretty common for women to kind of feel like they have to say, I think, or I was hoping you could do this, or would you mind doing this for me? Like at the end of the day, it's like a business and things have to get done. And I think I have a pretty hard time with concision. So reminding myself how to unlearn kind of like begging for a place at the table is pretty important.
Yeah, I
the
think
amount
that's
of times I delete exclamation points from my, like, I'll go back and delete 4 out of the 5.
I'm definitely queen of exclamation points, emojis. It's like I want no reason for you to think that I'm having an attitude when I say this. But I think it is right, Carly. I think on both sides, for both men and women, we have to learn and unlearn at the same time. There's certain things we have to learn how to do, and there's certain things we need to teach ourselves to stop doing. Because if we don't, then we're never going to really fully make the change in the way that it should be. So I think that was a really, really good point. What about you guys, Tia, Aaron, Allison, like, you know, being women in a male-dominated industry, and two, not only for you guys, but also for our female producers out there, how we can keep them inspired to continue to go in a male-dominated industry as well.
Sorry, go ahead, Tia.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna say, I think something that continues to keep me inspired is, I mean, I thrive around other female professionals. It's who I honestly prefer to work with. I find a lot of inspiration when talking to other female professionals and kind of learning about their experiences, but also joining different organizations. Like, for example, in Austin, there's an organization called Boss Babes, and it's just a lot of professional women uplifting each other and kind of helping each other out with navigating the professional world. Another one, there's a chapter in Portland where I live now. It's called Women in Music. And just being in organizations like that, I feel like, continue to keep me inspired and going, and kind of sharing similar experiences, really helps, especially with, just, I don't know, like stereotypes within the industry and for women in the workplace.
Yeah. Keeping aware and listening to those people that are in those relative people groups is really important. You'll be surprised, which you shouldn't be, but you'll be surprised how much you can learn if you just listen to people, and hopefully be inspired, and surround yourself, like Allison said, also with inspiring people to kind of keep you motivated and keep you uplifted while you are going through this kind of groundbreaking phase in your career. And I think that's what we're trying to do, BeatStars as a whole, is come alongside all of the women in our community and say, we see you, we support you, we want you to know that we're here and we acknowledge you. And if you have no one else, you always have our team by your side. And really to our entire community as well. We really genuinely care about you guys and the things that you guys go through, and some of the issues that you guys have to overcome, whether it be on an entrepreneur level, a personal level, sometimes even a racial level. We talked a lot, especially last year, about just racial inequality. And then, of course, the same with the gender inequality and some of those gender norms as well. Just really trying to truly be a part of this community with you guys in every sense of the word, support you. Tia, what was it? I could tell that you also had a thought too. What was it that you were going to mention about just staying inspired in a male-dominated industry?
I was going to say that I think it's also important to remember your own why. For me, it's like I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out where I fit into certain spaces and how people are going to perceive me. And it's honestly something I still struggle with. But at the same time, it's like you kind of have to remind yourself to put on blinders because you have your own goals. And I also think that women, we get sucked into this vortex of consistently needing to explain our experience. And sometimes like these conversations are constructive because it's like, I know you guys and I know you work really hard. But for me to sit here and explain my experience to people who are really just trying to stall me or like buy time on their own things, I don't care to participate in things like that. So it's really just keeping your eyes forward, keep going. And another thing for me is I have a tribe full of women and we all inform each other across multiple mediums in the industry. So for me, it's like, if you're not going to let me have this seat at the table for whatever reason, then I have this entire other network that will help me get around you or whatever the case is so that I can get the things that I want. So that's another thing to stay inspired, is make sure you have find your tribe and find the people that you can communicate with, but on a regular basis, like make those people your family, and see a huge difference in how far you move.
That's amazing advice. Cause I was sitting here thinking like, I just feel so lucky because I feel like because of where we work, we experience that probably, at least in my experience, I definitely experience it less. Cause I feel like I just I feel like my opinion is valued and, I can express the projects I feel like we should be working on and get excited about them with all of you guys and get everybody involved and all of that stuff. So I feel like it's great to have that tribe at BeatStars, and I hope that other companies and, other freelancers even find that kind of experience as well. Jasmine, I was wondering, how do you feel as a mom, for maybe the female producers who are out there who are moms, what is it like kind of balancing being an amazing boss and having a child at the same time? Because I think, it's, for me, so inspiring listening to you being a mom while on a call. And that should be more prevalent, like it's human nature. So, what is that like for you?
I'll say at first it was definitely scary because I am somebody who works really hard and I want to have this great career. And I knew that at the former company I worked with, me having a child was going to set me back. And it did. There was an opportunity that came up that they told me that they were going to give me and didn't. And the only real kind of reason behind that was just the fact that I was pregnant and they knew I was going to be leaving. And so, yeah, it could definitely be scary for women to feel like they have to have a choice between their career and starting a family. Fortunately for me, what I did, like Tia said, is like that, you know, sometimes you got to create your own opportunities. And so at the time, obviously, prior to working at BeatStars, I just started working for myself and freelancing. I didn't want to have to be forced to choose between who I am as an individual and something that really means a lot to me, which is being a mom and having a family and working. Fortunately, I'm at, as we keep saying, a company like BeatStars where I really don't have to choose. But it's hard. It's hard to, you know, have a toddler for me, a kid who's just turned 2, and I'm trying to have these and really important conversations, or I'm having a meeting and she's screaming in the background, you know what I mean? And I definitely have to, I guess for me, I've had to unlearn myself, like, I am a mom and you guys may be in a meeting with me and see my kid, and really just teach myself, like, it's okay to embrace every part of myself. And to really, hopefully, like I said, you know, hopefully by the time my daughter Joelle, hopefully when she grows up, like, this isn't a conversation, you know, you can work and be a mom and you can thrive. And, you know, I feel like I've just obviously been really fortunate to be in a place like BeatStars where, you know, having a kid is not even something to even consider or think about, in the sense that, you know, I have to think about the timing and what opportunities could come my way in the next 6 months that I could be shorting myself. But just understanding, I guess, for the men out there too, that being a mom and that just adds a whole nother dynamic to being a female sometimes in these male dominated spaces, especially because traditionally men are the workers. And if there is a child, a lot of times the mom will be home, and sometimes it can, I guess, be a little nerve wracking when I'm in these, you know, conversations with a bunch of men and I have my kid with me, because you know, they may not relate, you know, to what it means to be putting your family and your child just as high, or obviously higher than your job. And I think one of the things that's been beneficial for me is like when I have my meetings with Abe, is just like him encouraging me, like, it's not a big deal, like, or you can call me back, you know. It's like just continuing to support truly every role that you know, each woman plays, which that looks different for every person. Not everybody has children, not everybody's really focused on having a family, but just saying, you know, my goal is to really support you, whatever it is that looks like for you, whether that be being a mom, whether that be being a director, whether that be being the both of those things. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to empower you and to let you know that you don't ever have to shy any part of yourself around me. That's definitely something that, you know, for me, I've been trying to learn to do in this new phase of, you know, being a mom and a worker. But I guess another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is just kind of how you guys deal with maybe some of the abrasiveness. I know that this isn't a cute and fluffy topic to always talk about, but it is something that you deal with. Sometimes working in male-dominated spaces is just kind of, I don't know, the tension, the conflict, not, you know, like you mentioned, Aaron, not speaking to you, or like you mentioned, Tia, not giving you that seat at the table or acknowledging your respect. How do you guys deal with that? And I guess kind of stand up for yourself. You know what? I'll be the first to answer this, okay? Because I have encountered this recently. For me, it's about being an example. When my team and my daughter, if they were to be in that situation, how would I want them to handle themselves? What kind of respect and lines would I want them to draw for themselves? And trying to do that myself, because talking and doing are two different things. And it's a lot easier to say, you need to draw a line, and actually doing it. It can be intimidating. But really taking that step to defend yourself. It doesn't have to be something that's really confrontational where it's like, now we're about to fight in the middle of a conversation, but really saying like, listen, I know my value. I know my role here. I know that I was given this seat at the table for a reason. And if you can't respect that, then we shouldn't be in communication. And really drawing that hard boundary for yourself. And, there's times, I guess, picking and choosing your battles. Long story short, there are going to be times where maybe we just got to kind of chop it up. I'm sure all of you have experienced, there's been an attitude or a slick comment that's said to you, and it's just like in one ear and out the other. And you kind of develop this, I guess, shield around yourself and your energy and your mental health, but also taking that step to, draw the line and protect yourself and defend yourself too.
I think in my experience, one thing, Miss Instrumental just said it in the comments about women powering through with grace. Something that I've really had to practice in the last year specifically is moving with grace.
Yeah.
Because I just, when people, especially when it's men, they make the slick comments or they make calls about your character based on how you're presenting yourself or whatever it may be. Like, I just don't have the time to go back and forth with you about that. So a lot of it for me is just figuring out, okay, that's them. They did these things. Most of the time it's intentional.
Yeah.
So knowing that, how do I get around that and show and prove? I don't really like to do like the tit for tat thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a Cancer, your girl can be petty if she wants to be, but it's easier to spend your time just like I said earlier with your blinders on. One thing for me is that if somebody says a crazy comment to me or they're out of pocket, then I try and find a way to question what they've just said, just so that they know I know they said what they said.
Mm-hmm.
So, asking for clarification, really making them explain where commentary is coming from is a huge key. And that doesn't ever mean that you have to be confrontational.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes people just need that like slight check, and you could do it really politely. And that's not to say that you have to be polite or kind to anybody that's disrespecting you either. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But like you said, you kind of have to pick your battles, and you need to pick what's more important. And I think the more important thing is getting around and moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to note, like you said, a lot of times, like, these comments don't come from nowhere. You know what I mean? And they know exactly what they were trying to do when they said that or when they did that. And just acknowledging it to yourself. And like Tia said, you don't have to be confrontational. You don't also have to absorb everything, but just kind of finding that balance between like, you know what, I know what you were trying to do, and I know what you were trying to imply about me, and I know myself, and I know the reason I'm here and my capabilities. So cool. Guess what? Well, you go figure out how to talk or how to allow me to have that space to be empowered in this conversation. You'll be this way, and I'll be focusing on myself and encouraging and uplifting. And like I said, all of it really boils down to not really so much about men versus women, but really just how to be a decent person, how to encourage people, how to empower people who maybe don't find that empowerment in themselves, and supporting people so that they feel like they have a place at the table. But Carly or Aaron or Allison, what about you guys? Like, in some of those tougher moments of, being a woman in a male dominated space, what it's been like for you and how you've been able to find that balance between, understanding sometimes the negative things that come with that, and also trying to set the foundation or set the boundary for where you want things to be in the future.
I think one of the things that I've kind of like trained myself to believe in, because I am someone who naturally, I think, seeks validation from other people. And I definitely had one of my first internship experiences. I worked in live, and there were me and a male intern, and the people were just like only directing questions to him. They shook his hand and they didn't shake my hand. Like, it was very uncomfortable. And I think something that I've learned is you have to judge yourself and rate your successes by like the quality of the project and the amount of effort you put in, and not by necessarily the way that you were treated or the way that other people have like given you validation. You really need to find that self-validation and be consistent in showing your worth. And in my experience, I think this won't be everyone's experience, but in my experience, if you consistently show that you're able to work hard, people come around eventually. I would also wanted to bring up, if anyone has any comments kind of related to this, I think like, particularly for women in music business, like the balance of like femininity and professionalism, and like something that I always really struggled with. This isn't a particular experience, I guess, because this is my first job, but it can be like pretty hard preparing. I know we've had talks in my classes about like what to post on social media and how to come across as professional and how to be able to express yourself. And something I love about having a bunch of women working here is I think I would never be worried about that, or worried about like looking too good or not looking good enough. And that aspect has been, I don't know, I haven't had to cope with it because of this environment, but that's something I was definitely very prepared and very worried for before I got here.
I think that's a good point, though, especially when what you mentioned about social media. I know for me, it was something that I was concerned about, like, you know, as a girl, and especially as somebody who was in my early 20s, like I went out with my friends. I like to dress up. I like to go to the beach, and not wanting this perception that maybe somebody's going to judge me based off the pictures they see. And they're going to come up with this idea that I'm not as intellectual as I am because of the choices of clothes I make to wear, or the choices I make in which clothes that I wear. And really having to, again, unlearn and say, like, look, this is what I wear when I'm out. This is what I wear when I'm at the beach. And guess what? I still have my MBA. So you guys and the judgment that you may come up with based off what you see on my social feed or that doesn't really matter to me, because it doesn't change the fact that I am intelligent, I am capable, and that should be really well respected.
Yeah, finding that inner confidence is literally everything. Even if you have to fake it, like, you know, it's just keeping that confidence. It's really key. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jasmine.
There's so many times where like I feel so confident in some areas, and then other areas I just feel less confident in. And the best thing ever has been having you guys be, you know, reaffirming to me, like, you're not crazy, you're doing a great job, or, you know, getting that community validation, just keeping lifting people up. It's just so important.
I think to Carly's point, just like that balancing the femininity or professionalism, I think one thing that I learned very early on, like I used to at one of my first jobs, I would show up every day, blouse, some type of boot, blazer. Then you start taking meetings with people, and you start interacting more, and it's like you show up to the event and everyone's in t-shirts and leather jackets and stuff.
Yes.
Thankfully, I can't speak for all industries, so thankfully we're in an industry where it's like that casualness is okay. And I think as far as social media goes, like, you guys will probably know better than anybody at this point that I get a lot of anxiety dealing with social media, because, you know, some people are really inappropriate when they hit you up, or like Jasmine said, they're making an assumption based on like how you're wearing your clothes or what you're doing. I think that something that I also have to practice is just, you know, living my life, because, you know, I don't know one man who is shy of the fact that they may have been out on a Friday night scream singing into the camera in all their videos. But like, if that were me, it would be like, oh, that's a problem, you know? And then just to like jump off of that also, that fake it till you make it energy has been really important for me. So even in situations like, let's say I'm doing an interview, or I'm going into a meeting with somebody new who I perceive to be of like a higher stature than me, going in being like, sis, you're that girl. Just carrying that energy into those situations, no matter how I actually feel, I can feel scared and anxious and all of those things when I'm done. But you're not gonna get that from me in the moment. And I think that's a practice that some people should pick up. Like, how you're feeling is valid. It's okay to feel that way, but the more that you practice like carrying yourself the hour or 30 minutes that you can't, you know, be that timid person or whatever. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's something Aaron and I actually were talking about the other day, is like, you have to find that confidence, especially for women, ultimately in yourself. Like if you're waiting for other people to validate you, or you think that, you know, in a male dominated industry or an environment that everybody's going to kind of make sure you feel welcome or they're going to treat you with respect, that's not going to happen. So you got two choices. You can either just kind of sit there and take it, or you can find confidence in yourself and just really encourage yourself to operate at your fullest. I don't need anybody to gas me anymore. Like, and like you said, Tia, like you fake it till you make it until it becomes a common practice. Like when I was younger, I didn't have this confidence. It was like, what do people say about me? What do people think about me? And it's like slowly over time, if you keep building, and it's not so much as fake it till you make it in the sense that you're being something you're not. You really are awesome. You really are talented, and you really are amazing and intellectual. And you should thrive on those things by yourself and be whole by yourself, be confident in yourself, so that you're not relying on other people, because you can't control people, but you can control yourself, and you can control the environment you put yourself in and the things that you tolerate and the way that you speak about yourself and the things that you feel about yourself. And so trying to hone on that while also keeping in mind that hopefully you guys can break the mold. But I see we only have a few minutes left, which I don't understand because I feel like we just started. So we might have to have another one of these conversations really soon. But I guess I just kind of want to close out on a more positive note. And I hope that all of you guys who have tuned in, I don't want you to feel like we're attacking men or that we think all men are bad. That is not the case at all. There are a lot of incredible individuals. There are a lot of really great men who empower women. There are also there are women who don't empower other women. So it's definitely not just a male issue. But what we do want to do is keep it 100 and talk about some of the difficulties of being a woman in the music space and sometimes being the only woman in a room or in a conversation or environment that's mostly dominated by men. But for all the men out there who have been cognizant, who have open opportunities or extended that care and that support and empowerment to women, we appreciate you guys. And it's people like you who come alongside us and help us continue to push things forward. But with that being said, you guys, I want to ask you, like, I guess to kind of close out, how do you feel like, or what's really important for you to kind of showcase or through BeatStars to be able to change this environment of what it means to be a woman in music? What is something you want to accomplish? What is something that you believe BeatStars supports? And just to kind of, I guess share what Women Empowerment Week looks like this week and beyond for each of you guys.
I think, go ahead, Carly.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I've been like holding on to this the whole conversation, but I'm taking a class right now on music and media. And one of the things we learned is that the way that like especially the music industry started phonographs, and the way that they were marketed was the marketing campaigns directed towards women were like as a household, like, oh, you can entertain yourself while doing chores. And towards men, it was about the engineering, the breakdown of the hardware, the production. And I think that the way that this translates is that marketing has such like a profound impact on the way that we see products and the way that we see industries. And so like, while like watching this, you might think, you know, we are not producers, we are not like women creators necessarily in music. But this business end of it has so much influence on like the culture created in those industries.
Yeah.
And so I think like my takeaway, I guess, regarding that is our job at BeatStars is to, you know, sell a service, sell a product, explain to people what the platform is, but also influence that culture and help our community that we curate to be those front runners. Because there's clearly a change, a very, very slow change. And if we're the front runners in the industry, I guess our job is to kind of turn that marketing that originally happened around and start making people's minds go the other way. So that's why those conversations are important for me.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Very well said. Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy to know. Crazy to know.
Tia, what about you? Like, what does women empowerment week mean to you, being at BeatStars in the future? What does that look like for you?
I think within my role, I have like a very particularly special opportunity to help the creators that use the platforms get some exposure and get themselves out there. So it's, especially this week, it's been really cool to be seated the women producers that do use the platform and be able to shine a light on them. But another thing that's been really fun for me is that especially within our playlists, I've been able to include a lot of women that we didn't have playlists for in the past. And a lot of these artists are very prominent or rising or are shifting sounds. And I think, one, it's really great to kind of put their names out there and make their names available to our platform, especially to inform what types of music are being created and uploaded to the platform, but also so that we can support these artists on a global scale as well, and also be leaders in supporting specific artists. So I think that's been pretty cool for me. And even just knowing that the work is appreciated. One of the producers that we got to repost and playlist on Monday for Women's Day sent a message through, just so ecstatic and excited that they were playlisted. So I think that is also like what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. I guess it's just like really special, and it means a lot to know that effort is being reciprocated and appreciated.
Yeah. What about you, Erin? What does Women Empowerment Week mean to you now and really through the rest of your journey being in the music industry?
Yeah, I mean, what Tia just brought up, something that I was just thinking about in terms of like even our top charts. Like you always see like Drake, Lil Baby, like all of the top type beats that are on even on BeatStars platform are always male dominated. So like just having an overall sound and our voice within the community is so important, and making sure that, you know, there's equality amongst all of us and equal opportunities for us. So I think it's really exciting that we have a team that actually can make a difference. And, you know, if you guys have any suggestions on how you think we can even do that even better, we're all ears. And, you know, can't wait to see, you know, how we can make direct change in that.
I agree. What about you, Allison?
Well, I think just having a voice, you know, on or, you know, with the world's #1 music marketplace, like that is just such a big game changer. And I feel like our community is so receptive to, you know, hearing different stories, hearing different backgrounds, like just reading the chat, like in this live show right now, like it's really great knowing that people are out there listening and they're receptive to learning. And I feel like that is the first step in making major change. It's education, it's listening, it's learning. And, you know, having a place at BeatStars gives all of us the opportunity to help educate those who are listening and those who are willing to listen. So I don't know, I'm just very like prideful in our community, and just, you know, like I said, how receptive everybody has been. And that alone is changing for sure. Is industry changing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess, you know, for me, it's just a matter of, for one, making sure that we encourage our community and you know, give a little bit of extra love to those people groups that need it. But also really just trying to relate, you know, and come from a place of empathy and understand that you can be a woman, you can be extremely hardworking, you can be a mom, you can stand up for yourself and know your place, and just kind of all of those different dynamics and situations that you have to encounter and sometimes think about while being a woman, and just trying to think about how I can empower myself and influence those around me and support those around me to do the same. Because like you said, Tia, a lot of times there's men probably not thinking about these things, you know what I mean? Like, and that's something that we have to face as women. And just doing my part to lead by example, first and foremost, because more than or I guess equal to what I want for my child and for the people that I love and for the women that work on marketing, I want it for myself too. but also being intentional about creating those opportunities on BeatStars. Again, fortunately, we're at a company where we're empowered, and in turn, we're allowed to empower so many other different women and groups. And just trying to break the barriers, I guess, is the most simple way to put it. Like, that is what BeatStars is all about, is disrupting the norm in the music industry. And who does that better than women in music? So I hope you guys can continue to follow us throughout the week. This Women Empowerment Week, again, this is just the start of what truly is a never-ending commitment by BeatStars to empower women in music. And throughout this week, we're telling the different stories of women in music and women on BeatStars, and the disparities in music between women and the things that they go through. And I hope you guys are able to listen and learn and hopefully be a part of the change going forward. But like Erin said, if you guys have any ideas, or if you have any ways that you feel like we could support women better, please let us know, because we're all open ears. And at the end of the day, we want to empower the entire community. And if there's a way in which we can do that better for women, we want to. And I would encourage all of you men who have tuned in to just, be cognizant going forward of when there are women in the room, and thinking about what ways you can, do the littlest of gestures that can really impact somebody's day, their mood, they're feeling welcome in the space, and, starting to encourage and collaborate with more female producers as well, right? Because nothing better than making money together. So reaching out to more female producers and getting them to be in this space, and know that, like, hey, you're welcome in this space, and we're going to grow and do this thing together. We're all doing this thing together. Us on the BeatStars side.
And not just as like your assistance or your support, but also move out of the way and make room for them to be leaders.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, whatever it is you're working on will probably move better if they are.
100%. But yeah, with that said, you guys, thank you guys so much for listening. Like I said, I know these conversations aren't always pretty, and it could maybe have felt a little bit negative, but unfortunately, this is kind of the reality for what it means to be a woman in a male-dominated space. And hopefully in the future, we can just change the way that we talk about these things, not because we don't want to offend anybody, but because they don't exist anymore. So everybody, I really encourage you to, do your part. I'm sure all of you have incredible women in your lives. Ask them how you can support them and encourage them even better. And I'm sure if we're all cognizant of, what society looks like today, and we know the positive way we want to push it forward, and we do the work that it takes to get there, at some point, these types of conversations will change. But with that being said, thank you, Tia, Allison, Carly, and Erin, for sharing you guys' story with the community. For all of you guys that tuned in and were commenting and encouraging us. So even while we were talking, like, I don't know about you guys, but it felt good for people to be like, yeah, the women at BeatStars are so awesome. And yeah, we do got to empower ladies. Like, I thank you guys for being such a supportive community, and for both BeatStars as a company and BeatStars as a community to just be such a different space than it typically is for women, where we are truly welcomed and appreciated. So thank you guys so much. And we hope you enjoy the rest of Women Empowerment Week. But again, this doesn't stop on Sunday. This should be a never ending commitment from all of us to really empower and support women. So with that being said, guys, we're going to head out. If you guys have any comments or feedbacks, feel free to reach out to any of us. We'll be checking out the social comments and trying to engage with you guys as well. But we appreciate you guys so much, and we hope you have a wonderful week. All right. See you guys. See you, ladies.